Hey guys, Avish here, and in this demonstration I will be showing you guys how to set up a DNS server, and I'll be showing a little bit on the NSlookup tool and how it is used to look up DNS servers via their names and IP addresses. Right now, DNS or domain name server is a service that is offered by Windows Server 2008 in this case, to translate websites for users, right? And making it well understandable by the server as well. Right now, servers understand only IP addresses when it comes to getting the destinations of resources that users request. Right now, if a user was to enter a worded website, right, like www.google.com for instance, right, now the server doesn't understand that as is, so it'll have to translate that into an IP address to make it, well, to tell the server where to look to serve that page or that resource for the user, right? Now, DNS also stores a database, right, or a cache then of servers and their destinations, websites and their destinations, so that in the future, if the user was to request that website again, right, the server already knows where the website is, so it doesn't have to, search externally for this, right? So in order to properly set up DNS, right, one must go to the server manager. Right now, in my case, I have the server manager to the underneath of the screen here on the taskbar, right, or quick launch, right? Or I can go to Start, Administrative Tools, and here along with the list we see DNS. So I open that up. Nice. So DNS is normally a service that is set up as a, well, let's say as a very much needed service when installing a domain controller. So they sort of integrate that when setting up a domain controller, right? So as indicated here, this is the name of my server, right? We're in 2008, right? And DNS utilizes what is called forward lookup zones and reverse lookup zones, right? Now, both of those zones, right, offer translation in a different way, right? The forward lookup zone, right, which I will show momentarily, is what the user gets when, you know, it when the user types in the worded form of the resource or server that they're looking to access, right? When they type in that worded format, that is what the forward lookup zone translates, right? The reverse lookup zone is if the user was to enter the IP address, right? And it will map back that IP address to the worded server and provide that information for the user, right? So here, as this is already my domain, right, avish.com, right, I have already set this up, well, this portion of it, when connecting the computers that you see listed here, right, as indicated in my previous videos when configuring Active Directory and all those stuff, right? So in order to get this DNS to be working, as we already have the forward lookup zone, I'll have to create a reverse lookup zone, right? So in order to do this, I would right click on my folder here, reverse lookup zone, and you can see the new zone here to create, or I can go into action and create, well, select new zone. So I'll do that. So this little wizard here allows us to set up the reverse lookup zone. So I'll click next. Now this is a primary zone, as is the first one, so I'll click next, keeping all of this as its default, right? So it makes it available for all the domain controllers on this domain, right? So I'll select next again. Now in this tutorial we'll only be dealing with IP version 4, right, as it's the most widely used protocol, as IP version 6 hasn't taken, well, spares yet. So I'll select next. Now this section requires the identification part of the server, right, or the IP address. Then so it only accepts the first three segments of the IP address, right? So I will just enter 192.168.0, right? Now this is the IP address for my server itself, right? And over here on the underneath in this faded out box, right here you can see it listed in its reverse. Right now this is by default how it appears regardless of what is typed in this network ID box here. Right, so I will select next. Right, I will leave this as allowing only secure dynamic updates. Right, so I'll keep that as next and I'll click finish. Nice. So our reverse lookup zone is created. Right, next, in order for this forward and reverse lookup zone to sort of go hand in hand or sync with one another, I'll have to create what is called a pointer record. So in the NS lookup zone here, the reverse lookup zone, I will right click on this white space anyway here and see new. Right, so new pointer, PTR, nice. So the host IP address is as that is there. The host name, right? I'll have to browse for that. So I'll select browse, Windows 2008 as my server. Going into forward lookup zones to find a relevant record, avish.com, and under here I will select Win 2008, and here it is populates. So I'll select OK there, and voila. Nice. So this PTR or pointer record has been created. Right now, that is pretty much it for setting this part up. Now I will go on to showing that how this DNS server is active and basically the tool that is NSlookup. So to access this NSlookup tool, right, I can either use it in command prompt or I can type NSlookup right in the search pane here and it populates. Right now this presents itself in interactive mode. Right, so I will do it like this. It also comes up in its own command prompt. Nice. So on the above here we see a default server which is win2008.avish.com and my IP address. Right, so what I can do, right, is I can type in the name of my domain, which will be avish.com. Right, and here we see the server which is housed on, right, the address and also the name of my domain and its address. Right now, if I were to type in the same address, right, in its reverse form, then 192.168.0.1, right, here we see that it also brings up the same information, showing that whether I type in a worded form, avish.com, or the IP address 192.168.0.1, which is the address of my DNS server, it shows that it is operating both forward and backward. Right now, this NSlookup tool, basically you can use this tool to find any sort of DNS IPs out there. Right, so let's just say even for Google's public DNS 8.8.8.8, right, if you were to type in that number in here, similar like what I did, you will bring up Google's DNS. Right, same if you type in the Google server itself. Now there are a lot more other technical functions that this tool can be used in terms of troubleshooting and stuff, but I will not be touching on that. This is just to show and pretty much show to you guys that the DNS server that has been set up here is functional. Right, and yes, that is pretty much it. Nothing technical about it. Right, so that concludes this little demonstration here on how to properly set up and configure DNS. I hope it was very insightful to you guys and you learned something. So please, thank you for viewing and bye bye.